Hey, I'm Cliffhanger, and today you're going to hear the recap of the movie Let's Go to Prison. John Lyshitski has just been released from prison after serving his third sentence. Since childhood, he's always been drawn to the dark side. 8 years ago, John was driving a van with a huge lottery check inside, but he couldn't cash it. Guilty, declared the judge. Society must be protected from such worthless scum as you. Verdict: 7 years in juvenile detention. And just like that, the system turned John into a desperate criminal. At 18, he tried to rob some mailman, but his gun was empty. He just wanted to scare them. Sentence: 4 years. If being dumb were a crime, you'd get life. 6 months after his release, the same judge sent John back behind bars for stealing a car. Now, free again, John's only goal is revenge on that judge. But bad news. The old man died 3 days ago. Out of anger, John shoots up a phone booth. Then, in a bar, he spots a newspaper article. The judge's son, Nelson Biederman IV, is opening a memorial in his father's name. Perfect, a new target. While Nelson gives his speech, John sneaks into his car, steals his change, empties his inhaler, and spits in his coffee, twice. Turns out, Nelson is a privileged brat. He wastes money and yells at his late father's foundation board. John keeps following him. Nelson, an asthmatic, panics after realizing his inhaler is empty and crashes into a pharmacy. He flips over shelves, searching for a new one. "Robbery!" yells the pharmacist. "Another junkie?" sighs his wife. Nelson finally finds an inhaler, but the couple thinks he's holding them at gunpoint. John fires his pistol. The pharmacist's wife shoots Nelson with a shotgun. It's all caught on security cam. The cops arrest the rich kid. The board of directors, mad at Nelson, refuses to help. They claim their legal team advised him to take the fall. Now, it's Nelson Biederman's turn to face trial. John watches the courtroom with glee, but the female judge hates entitled brats like Nelson. Everything will go by the book. A jury will decide his fate. A jury of idiots, Nelson mutters. And he might not be wrong. One juror detaches and reattaches his finger. Nelson's lawyer, his bumbling assistant, Dwayne, who rambles about Jurassic Park. In the end, the jury finds Nelson guilty of attempted robbery. Sentence: 3 to 5 years. Prison Rossmore Penitentiary. John imagines Nelson getting beaten and assaulted in prison. But for some reason, it doesn't bring him joy. He wants to personally torture the rich kid. So, when 2 undercover cops ask to buy weed, John pretends not to recognize them and gets arrested again, on purpose. He negotiates with a judge to serve 3 to 5 years, but only if it's at Rossmore. He even boards the same prison bus as Nelson. John immediately chats him up and offers to be cellmates. Nelson is grateful because the rest of the inmates are, to put it mildly, unfriendly. The prison warden greets the newcomers. "If anyone here is innocent, raise your hand." One guy does. Boom, rifle butt to the gut. If you have complaints, write them down. Roll the paper into a tube and shove it up your ass. That's prison wisdom from Warden. John bribes a guard to be put in the same cell as Nelson. As Nelson walks through the prison, he's terrified by all the murderers and thieves. He reaches his tiny cell, just 2 square meters, and immediately breaks down in tears. John warns him to stop crying before others see. You won't last a week. He demands that Nelson show a killer snarl, but the poor guy looks like he's constipated. Fact: the US spends $54 per inmate per day, about $75 million daily, or $28 billion annually. Maybe just let people steal stereos. In the cafeteria, John warns Nelson about a white supremacist leader named Leonard. Also, he must vacate his seat at exactly 12:15. Nelson starts reminiscing about college and forgets. Right then, Leonard stabs a prisoner in front of him. Guard Shanahan slaps Nelson and asks who did it. John secretly points to Leonard. Nelson snitches and gets a beatdown. Rule number 1 in prison: don't snitch. The shower room is another terrifying place. A huge inmate named Barry takes a liking to Nelson. John warns everyone, "This one's mine. No entry into this white booty unless I say so." Nelson tries to thank him, but John says, "Don't stick your finger in me." Yeah, it's complicated. Nelson's money is locked in a trust fund. He's no longer chairman. John pays inmates to beat up Nelson daily. Even the lunch guy spikes his food. Barry still flirts relentlessly. offering to buy Nelson. One day, guard Shanahan asks John to take out the trash and leaves the cell unlocked. Nelson gets kidnapped, thrown into a candlelit cell. Barry enters. "Relax, have some wine, I make it in the toilet." He puts a knife to Nelson's throat when he lies about Barry's weight. "Don't lie to me," Barry warns. "You're mine now." They rub noses. Barry's a romantic. No rush, he just wants kisses for now. Nelson writes a letter to a pen pal, a little boy, but a Nazi pees on him. It's a message from Leonard. He's out of solitary. Nelson tries to apologize, but gets stabbed with a fork, twice. Leonard says the only guy who pissed him off more than Nelson was his own dad, whom he killed, and now he'll kill Nelson too. Meanwhile, Barry continues courting. John suggests Nelson hide in solitary. He punches a guard, gets locked away. But time passes strangely in there. He hallucinates. After 2 days, he's done. Nelson asks the prison chemist for something lethal. Gets boat cleaner and a syringe. He writes to the kid, "I want to line these bastards up and cut off their dicks." The boy reads the letter aloud in class. Leonard later douses Nelson in gasoline. "Too bad you're not Jewish. That would have been perfect." But Nelson fights back, breaks Leonard's face. Leonard sees the syringe, thinks it's heroin, injects himself, and dies. John watches in shock. This wasn't the plan. Everything changes. Nelson gains respect. Even the white supremacists back him now. He becomes the boss. Barry, heartbroken, nearly kills him in the bathroom. Nelson feels bad for hurting his feelings. When Nazis try to defend him, he says, "Don't hurt Barry." John, back from solitary, sees Nelson has turned the prison into a musical. Everyone thanks John for preparing Nelson. His revenge plan is ruined. Tomorrow is Nelson's parole hearing. His big black friend helps him prepare. John gives him a soda as a farewell gift. It's already open. Nelson suspects something. John acts hurt. They've been through so much together. He takes a sip to prove it's safe. Nelson apologizes and drinks the whole thing. He collapses. John pukes out what he drank and carries Nelson off with his accomplice. At the parole hearing, Nelson says he's ready to rejoin society. Unaware, the words "white power" are written on his forehead. Parole denied. He attacks John. During the fight, John admits it was all because of his dad, the judge. Guard Shanahan interrupts. He's upset he missed the fight. He schedules a proper death match, Friday in the yard. Winner gets killed by him anyway. Even the warden places bets. Nelson gets a visitor, Barry. The board says Barry is rehabilitated, all thanks to Nelson. But he wants to stay. "I'll only leave in a body bag. Then make one big enough for 2. Nelson adopts Barry, calls his lawyer Dwayne. "If I stay in here, I'm giving my fortune to my son, Barry." Friday arrives. The fight begins. Nelson has a screwdriver. His opponent has a sharpened blade, but Nelson wears armor. They pull out syringes of colorful chemicals. Both stab each other. Both collapse. "Draw," says Shanahan. Nelson is buried. His only heir? Barry, now worth $8 million, but Barry stays behind. He digs up Nelson's grave. Earlier, Nelson had ordered a drug to simulate death and bribed the coroner. Barry reminds him of their promise. "If not for this ass, we'd never have met." 1 year later, Barry and Nelson run a winery called Little Duck. A critic hates their wine. John and some former inmates rough him up. He promises a 10/10 review, even if the wine tastes like ammonia. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a like and subscribe. That helps my channel a lot. See you.